Our reaction to the new Bon Jovi documentary. Thank you and good night. Grab a drink, grab a snack, and let's go back. Hi guys, and welcome back to another episode of Gen X Unfiltered.
What's up, everybody?
Hey.
The podcast.
Yes, thanks for joining us. Another one.
Yes, today we are fresh off of the debut of the brand new Bon Jovi documentary on Disney Plus, Hulu, wherever, I don't know where else it is.
Yeah, up here in Canada, it's on Disney Plus.
Disney Plus. We watched it last night, so our brains are all Bon Jovi.
It's fresh in mind right now.
That's
It
right.
is.
We
Yeah.
did a marathon session. Was
It
it like
is.
5 hours of it we watched
5
on
hours.
Friday night?
Ooh.
Yes. And for those that don't know, it's a new documentary celebrating 40 years. It's like the untold story of Bon Jovi. 40 years of Bon Jovi called Thank You and Good Night.
Not goodbye.
No,
Good night.
That's
Good
right.
night.
It's never say
That's
goodbye.
right.
It's good night, yeah.
So, like Steve said, the documentary was 5 hours long. It kind of started from obviously the beginning of Bon Jovi sort of to present day and sort of where they are all at now. It was good because it had obviously Bon Jovi, or John Bon Jovi was in it, but they even had like Richie Sambora,
Yeah.
all the past, previous, present band members, their manager, like lots of people. So it was
They had
very...
other than their original bass player, that was the only guy that wasn't
Yeah.
in it. He
Yeah.
showed
Yeah.
up at their, in the end, just but not in the documentary, but he was the only one that actually wasn't in it. But yeah, they did a really good job of having like everybody, even the guys that they fired for
Yeah.
like their managers
Yeah.
and stuff like
Oh,
that.
yeah, for
Well,
sure.
Showed up, which I was surprised. 'Cause usually, you fire them, they're kind of like,
Well,
Yeah.
that's kind of an interesting thing that I'm sure we'll get into when we talk about it is like, yeah, there has been people that have come and gone for various reasons, but none of it was ever like dramatically like horrific. Like they're parting, like it wasn't like this
no,
big
it wasn't
like,
well, the big one, I mean, I think everyone knows is Richie Sambora.
right, but that
which
even
Yeah, that was
then,
pretty dramatic.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't say it was dramatic. I mean, I would say it was just
it
sort
wasn't
of
a dramatic. He didn't leave in a dramatic fashion.
No.
I mean,
Yeah.
in terms of
It was a shock
it was
because
a massive.
he's one of like the foundational
Yeah.
pieces of that
Yeah.
band.
But we'll get to
But,
that part because
yeah.
that's a little bit later in the history of
Yeah.
Bon Jovi. But yeah, so it starts way back when they were, little youngins. And I don't know about you guys. I learned a lot of stuff that I didn't know. I mean, I'm a Bon Jovi fan. Let's start
Yeah.
there. Are you Bon Jovi
Oh
fan,
yeah,
Steve?
yeah. It was always. I think I mentioned in one of the previous episodes, but yeah, like when I was 8, one of the first tapes I bought, the first 2 tapes I ever bought was "Slippery When Wet" and "License to Ill," Beastie Boys.
And I think you told a story about how you did a lip sync dance. To
I
Bon
may or may
Jovi.
not have done a lip sync in grade 3 to "Living on a Prayer."
Oh, I wish you had
Will
that.
you reenact that today for us?
Right?
Absolutely not.
Oh.
What about you, Eric?
Copyright issues. That's why.
Are you a Bon Jovi fan, for lack of a better word?
Yeah. Oh my God. When I was a little kid, I loved the song "Bad Medicine."
That's such a random song to love as a kid.
That was a huge song.
It was a
No,
huge
it's a-
song.
it's a great
yeah,
song.
I was maybe 7, 8, I guess, and
Yeah.
I loved that song off of New Jersey, which was one of the first tapes I ever got, actually.
Nice.
Yeah.
I am a Bon Jovi fan. I kind of was like the 90s era Bon Jovi where I kind of
You were
like
like the always
got into Bon
fan,
Jovi.
that time of Bon Jovi.
I do. I was, but I also like obviously like the older stuff once I sort of like that. And then I went back to the older stuff. And not going to lie, little crush on John Bon Jovi in the 90s, that shorter hair.
Well, he was definitely. I mean, whether in the 80s,
Not
he was
my jam.
definitely
Yeah.
not. Well, yeah, but he was a sex symbol, really. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
all of those guys, right? That's
I would say for me,
You weren't a Tico girl?
no. For me, his peak was like 35 to like 45. Good age.
Yeah.
Love that age. Even up to 50, I would say he was pretty,
they all still. I
pretty
mean,
good.
not, but all like they all still look pretty good. Like
Yeah.
None of them
I
are
mean,
like.
all pushing 60 now.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
They all seem to be holding up. All right.
Since we're talking about the band and the members, just for those that don't know anything about Bon Jovi or don't know all the details, Steve, you'll probably have a better memory of this. Okay, before we even get to the original, like sort of from the documentary, how did Bon Jovi become sort of Bon Jovi? Like, how did that start?
That I had, because again, I listened to him on and off over the years, but I had no idea about sort of how they started. And that was interesting because it really just started. Bon Jovi was like in a cover band. I can't remember the name now.
It was the Laneway or Eastway or something.
East Express. Yeah.
Freeway?
Ace. Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyways, they were in a cover band and he quit and went on his own because he realized I'll never be more than just a cover band.
Yeah.
And so he recorded Runaway by himself.
Yeah.
David Bryan helped him with the piano part. He's the keyboard player. But it was just him. I was shocked. I had no idea.
Same here. I thought like the band like created Runaway together.
Yeah.
But that wasn't the case at all. Like
No,
No.
he basically did it himself and basically hustled his ass off for like 2 years, working in some studios and all this stuff to finally get Runaway in front of a DJ who started playing it on the radio,
And
it
then
kind
he's
of
like,
blew up, and it was like,
I need a band.
well, all of a sudden it's Bon Jovi, his
Yeah.
his real name, not Bon Jovi.
Yeah.
And it was like, this song is blowing up. I need a band. And that's sort of how, like you said, he already was working with David Bryan, the keyboard player.
Right.
But that's
Well,
how,
because they knew each other in like school.
yeah,
Then
they were like high
16,
school.
Yeah.
And then David Bryan was in med school,
Yeah.
going to be a doctor.
Yeah.
And was like, okay, I'll take a year off to
And see.
help you and
See how this goes.
see where this goes. And I mean, he's never left.
And then
No.
it was through, I always forget that guy's name. Alec
Alec John Such.
John
the
Such.
bass
Alex
player.
Bass
John
player, yeah.
Such knew Richie and then knew Tico through somebody. So it was kind of
They
like
kind of
that's
knew,
how
yeah.
it,
They all, these guys all knew each other and stuff. And
or
were
not
like,
Richie. Was Richie right away? Yeah,
Richie wasn't right. He wasn't right
No.
away.
Not right
no,
away.
he was
no.
later. He knew.
He had an interesting story about how he joined the band. Actually,
That's right.
Yeah.
when he
But-
showed up and was like, "I'm your new guitar player," more or less.
Yeah, well, good for him. He's
Yeah.
like, I'm your guitar player. There's nobody else.
Well, I
Yeah.
think he saw them and was like, oh, this, obviously realizing, hey, I think there's something going on here with this band, and I think
Yeah.
I want to be a part of it. And yeah, he was sort of really cocky and was like,
Yeah.
I'm going to be a good guitar player.
Yeah, so as a fan of some Bon Jovi songs, really I had no idea like how the band formed.
Yeah,
So I
and-
thought that was kind of cool to see.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
was really
yeah.
cool. And also, even like before that, sort of like, I mean, I think it's important to mention the huge influence he had from the other mega superstar out of New Jersey that kind of
Yeah,
was
the
just
boss,
ahead of him.
Bruce
yeah.
Springsteen. Yeah,
I had no
yeah.
idea there was a connection there.
No,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it makes sense because they're all from New Jersey and
Yeah.
stuff like that. But I kind of, especially like Bruce Springsteen, kind of knew Bon Jovi when he was John Bon Jovi.
Yeah.
Well, no, because
And he was in that cover band and stuff.
and he went up on stage with
Yeah,
him. Yeah.
so
And they sang a Bruce Springsteen song on stage.
and
Yeah.
Bruce
Yeah.
Springsteen kind of realized, hey, this kid's got some
Yeah.
hustle, and so it's actually really cool to hear that. I think that's sort of what Bon Jovi realized. I need to get out of this cover band and get on my own because seeing what Bruce Springsteen's doing.
But even
Yeah.
before he did the Runaway thing, wasn't his music more like, it was not rock music. It was like a different.
Blue Eyed Soul.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they had like
First.
horn players
horns,
and stuff like
yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And like it was, and there was like I think there was like 10 of them in that band or something like that.
Yeah.
Like
Because at the time, I guess like in that Ashbury Park,
yeah,
they had like Sam and Dave, the Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band. They had horns. That was sort of like
Yeah.
their style back
yeah,
then.
it was like that. The groups were large. It wasn't just 3 or 4 guys, 5 guys playing rock and roll. It was
Yeah.
a whole orchestral type thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So he writes Runaway. He hustles his butt off. He gets it on radio station's desk. They play it. It starts taking off. He's like, oh, crap, I need a band. So he recruits, I always forget, is it David John, with the keyboard player guy's name?
David Bryan.
David Bryan. He recruits him. He takes a year off medical school. I mean,
That's a
that's a big
That's
chance.
a bold
big
risk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He recruits the other guys that I forget their name. I know Richie, but I forget the Artico Torres, and then I always forget the one guitar player's name. Such.
Alex John Such.
Alex
He was the
Such.
bass player.
Yes.
Yeah.
So they have a group.
Yeah, Richie
And-
Sambora comes in, and that's the lineup.
And also, John was looking for, when it was that last person, Richie, he was looking for somebody who could do vocals and do all that stuff.
Well, his big thing was songwriting too.
Yeah.
Vocal, singing, and songwriting. He wanted someone to help him with that stuff because
Yeah.
he was still, like he said, he was still figuring out how to write a song and
And I
Yeah.
think
that stuff, and needed help.
And I think that they both kind of said in the documentary, and even like, people around them, that pretty quickly, like, they could see the chemistry between the two of them as far as songwriting and like jiving and performing and their
yeah.
voices and all that stuff. So it was a match made in heaven right from the start.
Yeah, well, Bon Jovi said that's what made their band really work was when him and Richie would sing together.
Yeah.
That was like their ace in the hole. Like, this was like what made them separate from a lot of the other bands at the time.
Yeah. Because it was
The
just,
harmonization of their
like,
voices.
Yeah.
Oh, it was you listen to like Dead or Alive and something like that,
Yeah.
and the two of them together. Yeah, it's a very
Yeah.
iconic sound you recognize right away.
So then there's a whole like backstory of how they got their first manager, Doc McGee. Was
Doc
that his name?
McGee, yeah.
Doc McGee. And then they go on this whirlwind of like European, concert, or not even big concerts, but like club performances.
No, they did like a small tour
Yeah.
of Europe and stuff like that to try and get out there.
And they
get
were all
exposure.
like 19, 20, like very young still. So they were just like, let's just go. Like, they were just going.
And yeah, I think if I remember correctly, like they weren't even like the headliner at that time.
No.
No, that's the thing. They were still, other than the one song,
Yeah.
Yeah.
they were unknown. Yeah,
But then
so this
they-
is their excuse to get out there and
Yeah.
get exposure. Yeah,
And you're gonna have to forgive me because I forget the order of albums.
it's shocking. You don't remember this.
No, but I guess my biggest takeaway from that point, like again, there was like 6 years where they literally were just like 350 days a year on the road, traveling, playing, writing.
Yeah.
They would go to for their album, right? Like they pumped out their albums fast at the beginning.
They
Yeah.
did. And that second album, I had never heard of it before.
Yes,
Fahrenheit
700,
7800.
7800,
Yeah.
yeah.
the temperature that rock melts at. It's like,
Well, because Runaway,
kind of, I get it, but
Yeah.
Runaway,
Lame.
their first album was, and what did they say in the documentary? Like, you have a million years to write your first album, and you have like a month to write
That's
your
a super
second.
valid point. Like
Yeah.
the sophomore more jinx, it's a real thing for a lot of bands.
Mm-hmm.
And that's exactly why. Like they have, they can tour for years, tons of time to refine the songs on the first album.
yeah,
And
exactly.
the second album was like, hey, we need like more hits now.
Yeah.
What you did over the last 4 years, now do it in 3 months.
Yeah.
If
So
yeah,
they would go to Vancouver.
that's
go
right. They
Canada.
came out to Vancouver here to record.
And I mean, it was within months. Like, I mean, it was fast, their first albums. The second album, even they admittedly said, was kind of a,
It
Wasn't
did okay,
great.
but
They knew it wasn't great.
no, it did
Yeah.
okay. It was
Yeah.
like I said, it wasn't a flop for them, which is.
No.
But I think with the third album coming out, which was Slippery When Wet, it was
Yeah.
like this album has to do something,
Yeah.
or
The record company said it has to sell 1 million copies or you're getting dropped basically.
Yeah,
Because
so
the
it's like-
Fahrenheit 7800 sold like 800,000.
something like that, which
Which
seems-
is successful. It's like
Yeah.
a gold record, but it's not platinum. You
no,
get
No.
1
it's
million
like
sales,
we're
right?
spending a lot of money on you guys to tour
Yeah.
300 days a year. Like that's not
We've
cheap.
invested years in you at this point. We want that big record.
and
Yeah.
there was a really funny story again in the timeline frame. I don't remember what it was, but talking about when they first had their tour bus.
Yeah,
Oh,
when
yeah.
that was their first
So
tour. They
funny.
had like their
And
very
they're-
first. They were touring North America or
Yeah.
United States.
They were all green. They didn't know what to bring on the bus.
So they had like 8 million bags,
That each
Yeah.
had like 10 pieces of luggage.
but they were bringing
Somebody
like
brought a bowling ball.
David, the keyboard player, had like
Soccer
because
ball?
he's like, I'm gonna go. Obviously, like to bowl, but
Yeah.
he had like a fish. I'm gonna take time off and go fishing and
Yeah.
enjoy it. And it's like you were gonna be.
It's like, brother, you don't know
Well-
what's in front of
And
you
that
right
was
now.
exactly what it
Well,
was.
but not even that.
The downtime is zero.
Yeah.
Not even that. They all get on the bus and there's too much crap because they all bring 2 luggages. So as they're leaving, the bus had to stop at everybody's house so they could let off. Some
Drop off, yeah,
Luggage.
yeah, but like
Yeah.
lose a piece of luggage, lose a fishing
Yeah.
rod, or
Yeah.
they had no idea. It's like, oh, we're gonna go on this crazy adventure, and
But that's fun. It's a fun story to think about.
Oh, yeah.
oh, I can only imagine. But yeah, this thing you're thinking, we're gonna see the country. It's like you are, but
Yeah.
you're not gonna really take any of it in.
No,
No.
and I mean, and like I said, they were so young at that point in time. They were just like, this is awesome. Let's like party. Let's have fun. The one thing sort of my knowledge of Bon Jovi before watching this type thing, like, you expect bands from the early 80s and all that kind of stuff, the rock and roll bands to, have some like drugs and alcohol and all that kind of stuff.
Well, the
fun stuff,
80s was
no?
the era of excess. Like the difference
Yeah.
says, like
Yeah.
sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Like the 80s were big into all that.
And one of the things I found interesting talking about in the documentary is like, yeah, of course, a lot of them indulged in different pleasures, whether it be drugs, alcohol, whatever. Even John said that. I mean, he always said he wasn't a drug guy, but he indulged in booze.
Yeah.
But the one rule they had, like a rule they had, was that none of them would perform inebriated.
Messed up on
Drug
stage. Yeah.
or
Yeah.
anything, yeah.
So, and it seemed like that was the case, unless
'cause
somebody could hide it.
That's
But
the way to ruin your career.
Yeah.
Is that
Yeah.
if you can't deliver on stage, that's
Yeah.
the problem.
It
Yeah.
sounded like the other guy who was really impacted by like drugs on stage was the bass player, Alex.
Yeah.
yeah.
John Such, and
Thank you,
See,
John
his name
Such.
is so hard to remember.
I know, John. I'm gonna Alex John Such.
but he's also the
Locked in.
only one. Spoiler: he's the only one that got fired.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
So
if you can't, and that's you hear about that with a lot of
Yeah.
bands. I mean, sort of different, but Guns N' Roses.
Yeah.
Lots of problems for those all band members for drugs, except for Axl. But
then,
the only one that got fired was the drummer who
yeah.
couldn't keep up behind the kit when he was messed up.
But again, like this is from, their point of view or John's point. I mean, the documentary is obviously highly narrated by John Bon Jovi
Well,
himself, right? It's his story.
it's the
Yeah.
current
Yeah.
member's story, not
So
him
him telling the story of how Such, I can't remember, Alex John, I can't remember the order.
just say the
Alex
bass
John.
player.
The bass
Yeah.
player. I never know what he is. The bass player. Like they talked about, he sort of was the one that was going down. Like they all partied, but he's the one that was like continuously partying. They could all see it. It was getting a little like whatever. And even the way John talks about having to let him go, like it wasn't like this huge like fight. Like it was very like, this is our brother. Like he needs to go get help. Like I really don't want you to leave.
A lot of times, you realize like, hey, these guys, some of these guys, well, even they made a comment, a couple of the members being like, they weren't fun, lovable drunks.
No,
they were.
Him and Tico.
They would get not so cool, get aggressive, and you've seen lots of people being drunk and
It affects people differently. For sure.
Yeah, of course.
It's not like I said for everyone that's like, I love you guys. This is so much fun. It's the other ones that get like
they want to break stuff
and get angry and stuff.
And he was doing more than just drinking. So anyway, so the whole like, firing him, like it sounds mean to say fired because it seemed like it was a very sad thing for everybody. Like it wasn't. And
Bon Jovi said it wasn't an easy conversation to have.
No, and it was good because it sounds like and again, my perspective.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say my perspective is that they didn't wait till it got so bad where it ended up being like this huge bad thing.
No, but I was going to say the way we're talking is this hadn't happened early in the career.
No, I know we got off topic.
As I was saying, we kind of got a little ahead of ourselves, but I'm just to clarify anyone listening that he was around for, probably the 10 years or something.
It was like 1990-ish when he got...
Yeah. So just to clarify that we're talking about their early days, but he was around for all the...
Yeah.
The big albums.
Yeah. And I mean, like John even said, like even in the documentary, it was sort of this like flash forward thing of like 6 years of just nothing but
they did
living, breathing.
Like they did like 265 days or something, 300 days on the road. Like guys, they're almost like wrestlers. Like they were just on the you based on the road a year and.
No wonder they had to go on, like, we're on drugs because, like, all the time on the road, no downtime, it affects you.
Oh, yeah, because when they said they did, like, 3 days on, 2 days off,
like
1 day on, 1 day off, and then just kind of back and forth. So you basically had, like, like you're working more than 40 hours a week. And then you're traveling on that stuff, too. It's... Ugh.
So one of the things that sort of happened is like John, a lot of people probably know like his wife, he's been with her for like a gazillion years. They knew each other in high school before he was, famous. Mm-hmm. And one of the things in the documentary, again, I mean, I didn't know, but like him telling the story is that in like 1989, they're like, let's get married. But they didn't want anybody to know they were getting married because it would impact the image of all the girls loving the band of single guys, right?
Yeah, I mean, that was the thing. It was more so like they were more so. John Bon Jovi and his wife were more surprised that was the reaction of their band members, and it wasn't John Bon Jovi's reaction. It was band members.
The band members, because they're worried about the fans.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they told John and his wife, hey, you guys need to
keep this down low.
Yeah, I explained that. So that they ended up secretly eloping because they didn't,
They flew to Vegas,
Yeah, so they eloped. But then even then, like, Doc McGee, I don't know, it's a funny name. Like nobody was happy because even they showed clips of fans being like, is he still with his girlfriend? Because if not, I want to marry him. And he was secretly married. But I think it's the same thing. Like nobody wants the public, because if all your fans are mostly women.
Yeah. And it's a weird thing too where, John Bon Jovi, which is his stage name, it's, I'm sure he would tell you too, there's a persona that it's not really him, right?
No,
it's a bit of an act he's putting on.
Yeah.
No.
There's a line there of he also has a personal life that is nobody else's business, right?
Oh, well, of course.
So it's that weird trying to...
It's weird when you're a public figure like that,
to
right?
To play that role and, how do you deal with this and that? And, everyone knows, right? If the girls like the back bands, then the guys are going to follow too. So
it's all it's even like in the 90s with the boy band era, like nobody ever admitted they had girlfriends in the band because it was like, it was just the thing. It was the image thing.
No, exactly. Yeah.
Also, I just have to really briefly mention we're kind of in this 80s era. Like, I get it, but like the outfits.
Oh,
yeah.
What about them?
They were talking about the outfits. Remember, he said we didn't know what we were doing. We just like tied stuff on.
Well, they would see like what other bands were doing,
like Motley Crue
and stuff. Like, we should. So we
should
cut
to
our
describe
shirts
them
on too. And
he said they dressed sort of like pirates.
Yeah.
I was like, I never really thought about it, but I guess sort of.
Yeah, but everyone knows the 80s style was
the glam rock
completely
days.
Unique to that era.
Yeah, well, they didn't do a lot of. I mean, they might have done some, but the whole like makeup look, they didn't.
Bon
do
Jovi
that.
wasn't big into makeup. Not like Poison and Motley Crue.
No, they were like when you think of like glam rock.
Yeah,
I wouldn't think of
Bon Jovi.
No, they were more.
They're more like party rock band.
Yeah,
like
they were like
a serious rock band.
No, but their style was of the time.
Yeah,
but it wasn't that like Poison or Poison was probably like the real
heavy
peak
the makeup.
Like that glam rock stuff. Yeah, they were never that, but they did have the teased hair and the
the tattered clothes and stuff.
Yeah.
And then as they kind of got into the 90s, that was that the time when they were kind of talking about how, you know, we can't really sing about like cars and girls anymore. Like we're
That was
kind
as
of
they got later on in their
later
Yeah, the one thing I wanted to point
Yeah.
out just real quick, and it
Yeah.
would surprise me, was how much Richie Sambora hated the song "Runaway,"
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
which I totally forgot. But
Which
Yeah.
is funny because that's where he's like,
that was what
What brought him to
brought
the band.
and everything.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
he really thought it was a terrible song.
That's hilarious. He said that too. He thought he was sort of the kind of like litmus test for what was good.
He was sort of he was
Because John Bon Jovi would sing like a lyric to him and be like, "You're not going to sing that. You'll get booed off the stage. They'll laugh at you."
yeah.
well, he was
always
honest,
kind of
I
that.
guess.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He's blunt and
he was
honest.
sort of a
Yeah.
sounding board for John to be
Yeah.
like,
which is what you need. Like you want somebody to be honest. Be like, no, I don't. I mean,
Yeah.
ultimately, John has the final say. It's his band, right? Like that's, and I guess that's sort of a thing too. Is like because that Runaway became kind of popular when it was just him. Like it was just John Bon Jovi was the name of the.
yeah.
It kind of stuck that way. So it was sort of like he had a band, but the group was his group.
Well, and they kind of said, sort of in the same vein as like Van Halen.
Yeah.
You know, Bon Jovi
Yeah.
is.
He made it 2 words like Van Halen.
Yeah, and you
his
wouldn't
last
really
name.
know that someone's last name, so it's kind of
No.
a unique sounding band
Yeah.
name that
Like, what's up, Bon Jovi?
Bon Jovi. Yeah. It's like you don't really know what it is, so it's like kind of in that same thing. We'll just keep it under your name since it's really your band.
And what's
Yeah.
kind of interesting is it seems like, again, perception of me watching, my opinion based on what people said was that, you know, the bandmates were right from the start, like they kind of were like, this is what it is. Like I'm the piano player, he's the lead of the group, and that's just what it is.
Yeah. Yeah,
Which
and
is
that's-
good, 'cause
Well,
I
that
think-
usually happens. You
Yeah.
need to have someone kind of running the ship. You know, it's like anything. You know, too many cooks.
Yeah.
But then
the
you
kitchen,
get the
it's,
people that are like, wait a minute, I want to be the star too. You know, it didn't seem like there was any one of them that were kind of like that, at least.
No, it didn't seem
No.
anyone was really fighting for,
They were all knew their roles and they were happy with
and they
it.
did a good job at it. Yeah, exactly. The one thing that kind of I don't remember the guy's name, but they talked because we're talking about Slippery When Wet, is they brought in that songwriter with them, and I forget the guy's
Oh,
name.
yeah.
But they were saying that's when everything kind of really changed. for
Really
him.
gelled.
Yes.
Because then they
He-
started, they changed how they wrote their songs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
He kind of helped them write like everything,
Like a narrative. Like Living on a Prayer is a story about two people, right?
yeah, and
Yeah.
that was kind of like more of a story to it and stuff.
Yeah.
It wasn't just about girls and cars and stuff like that.
And
I feel bad because I can't remember when we
know.
stopped.
I can
We
see his-
paused.
I
forget the guy's name
Can
now.
see his face, and also the Slippery When Wet album, I thought it was really cool. Like, you know, the cover, remember him telling the story of how the cover photo?
Oh, yeah, with the girl on it.
From
No, it was just the
But do you know why they did that cover photo? Do you miss that part? Because they had like the Slippery When Wet album. The first cover was like a scantily clad woman.
oh yeah,
and then the governing board of the record industry said you can't release this.
Yeah, whatever
Yeah.
the MPAA,
MPAA,
or whatever it is.
Yeah,
that
they're like
puts the ratings-
that's too racy. You can't put that out there. So they burned them all.
And
And then he did the
They
he
couldn't-
sprayed down the garbage can.
because they couldn't think of what to do. Yeah,
Yeah,
they were
it
it was a
stuck
garbage bag.
Garbage
he
bag.
sprayed it, and then he
with
He
water.
wrote
Yeah,
Slippery When Wet into the water and took a picture of it.
yeah,
Yeah, and
it's
then-
crazy.
and
Seeing
then-
it now because I remember seeing it, didn't really clue into what it was. Like,
Yeah.
oh, that's what it is. It's
Yeah.
just water droplets, and
Yeah.
he wrote his name on it, or not his name, but wrote.
So watching these documentaries is always little things like that I find cool, that you obviously never
Yeah.
know until like they tell these little stories and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, we took a tiny little pause to find the name for that songwriter because it was driving us crazy.
Yes, Desmond Child.
Desmond Child, yes.
Yes.
That's really where everything changed for them because he came on for Slippery When Wet and stuff like that, and that's where they got like
We were just talking about that, how like the songwriting changed to be more narrative
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
and storytelling.
Yeah, and that's when there's, then all of a sudden, how many they had like 5 number 1 hits, I think, off that album, and with New Jersey afterwards and stuff like that. Like,
Yeah.
There was a lot. And even now, like just sitting here thinking about the documentary, like it was 5 hours worth of stuff. I mean, there's
Yeah, it's a
so
lot.
much history and stuff that, I mean, there's no way we're even going to remember half of it.
no,
to
and
talk
that's we're
about
not
it.
trying to do like a
No.
point by
No,
point
no.
recap of it, but just
No,
sort of what
sort of
was
our
on.
But I think
thoughts
like
on
watching
it.
the documentary, that was my favorite Bon Jovi era, was the Slippery When Wet Bon Jovi era.
Was it?
Slippery When Wet in New Jersey, I think that was my favorite era of Bon Jovi.
That was like Wanted, Dead or Alive.
Yeah,
Living
they
on a
just sing
Prayer.
like fun like anthems.
Yeah.
Like big rock anthems.
Well, that's and they were much more. They were like hard rock, I guess, maybe. But
Yeah.
they were rock, definitely more rock
And that's
centric.
what they're going for too. Like the music videos, they were in like an arena, right?
Yeah.
They're like,
that's really
we want to fill an arena with our songs, basically.
Well, and speaking of music videos, I just remember one part where he's talking about when they did their first music video. He's like, we had no idea what to do. They're like, go stand over there, make this face, say that. It was like obviously a
had
horrific.
them, like, acting like as police
Selling
officers
hot dogs
and stuff. And,
yeah.
It was like even they were like, it was just ridiculous.
That was the one thing they said when. For the Living on a Prayer video, or no, was it Bad Medicine that came out first? I think it was Bad Medicine.
I get them all.
But
confused.
it was both of them were kind of the same. But it's like they wanted to show what they do live
Yeah.
in their video. They're like, we don't want to be jumping around, acting like idiots. Let's show
Exactly.
what we do in this live stage and like.
They learned early on like what didn't work for them in a video.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, you watch some '80s videos.
Oh, they're
like,
terrible.
They didn't like MTV at
no
first.
one knew what to do with them.
No.
No.
I remember seeing an interview with Sting and them talking about like the police videos. So like we would like they're just jumping around the recording studio.
Yeah.
Like we didn't know what to do.
Yeah, exactly. Just jump around like idiots
There was
in
no
the studio.
story to it. It was just
No.
run around. Yeah.
So, I mean, like, again, in that sort of 80s to 90s era, then going into the 90s, I mean, again, there didn't seem to be a lot of, like, dysfunction or anything like that between the group. Like, they seemed to be pretty harmonious.
A pretty solid unit, yeah.
They had their moments,
Well,
obviously.
they did have, it was after, was it after the Slippery When Wet and all of this stuff? When did they take that big break?
Well, that was
Well,
just because...
That was after New Jersey.
So
It
what
was,
happened
right?
with
Yeah,
that...
so before the 90s, they did have a
But-
real...
Yeah.
But
they
the
were
reason-
burnt out from overwork.
Yeah, but the reasons why they almost quote unquote broke up wasn't because of anything crazy. So they were 6 years of solid touring. They were like, we need to not do this.
Well,
we need to
hated.
rest.
They said they hated each other. They were just sick of each other.
Well, who wouldn't
for
be?
being like for 300 days a year.
No.
Just
Always
tight
in the same-
quarters
exactly.
And, and then you're dealing with, then you got the excesses that go on with that.
Yeah.
Like they said, like
Yeah, they were just like...
John Bon Jovi didn't really drink, right? But he would wake the guys up at 5 a.m. to do radio interviews, and they're
Yeah.
falling over, and they're like, "What the?
Yeah.
fuck
I mean,
are you
it
doing,
just...
man?" Like,
They basically were just annoyed with each other because
yeah,
it's close
no,
quarters.
exactly.
Bon Jovi sounded like he didn't know what was going that was happening though, because he said he read it in the British press first. He's like,
Well, but that's
what are
what-
these rumors of us breaking up, and then it kind of snowballed from like, oh, this is actually like there's something to it.
No,
Yeah.
but that's what I'm like. The story is like they went home after 6 years. They're like, we just need to decompress.
Yeah.
So they just and nowadays it'd be unplugging, right? They just unplugged.
they
they lived their
just went off
life.
the grid for a bit.
They did that, and then like you said, Bon Jovi started reading things, or John started reading things saying like, "What's going on? You're breaking up," and this and that. He's like, "What? Like we just
Yeah.
haven't talked to each other because we're just living our lives."
Yeah, it's like,
But,
we're
what's going
fine.
on?
Well,
Yeah.
then it started
So-
being like, "Well, are we fine?" That's
Yeah.
Yeah, but so that's what I mean. Like
that
it,
creep starts getting in there of like,
But that's
are
what
we
I-
okay? Are these guys talking to somebody?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but that's what I mean. It wasn't even like a whole. They almost broke up for crazy reasons. They almost broke up just because they were like, "What?
Yeah.
No,
We're breaking
they
up?" So yeah, and I mean, obviously they were like, "Okay, no, like it was fine. Like they figured it out. No, it's just the press because they kind of disappeared. 6 years of being in everybody's face, and you disappear."
The rumor mill started up.
Exactly.
That's right. They want some story. If there's no story there, they'll just.
We'll make a story.
So
Yeah,
even
exactly.
that is nothing scandalous. It was just like, oh,
No, that's the thing.
Yeah.
I mean, you look on their whole career, even before watching this, but there's
Yeah.
never been any real
no.
Yeah.
quote unquote controversy other than
I think
certain members leaving and things of that nature. But
But even then, it's not like these horrible things you hear about, like groups where they like break up.
no,
and they
but that's what,
leave and-
that's what I'm saying is that they had a pretty,
Yeah.
they're pretty, they're basically, in terms of rock and roll, they weren't the heaviest, the hardest by any means.
No.
No, they weren't like critical darlings. Like no one took them too seriously.
And
No.
even the bass player Alex Such, even him leaving and being fired and kicked out, like I said before, was just more sad than anything, and it was for his own good.
Well, that's
Even he says it.
no,
He's
and that's
like,
the thing.
I
It's-
deserved it. Like
well,
I was.
mean, it's,
Yeah.
there's certain, it is a job.
Yeah.
That's always the weird thing with these kind of, whether you're in a rock band or even like
Yeah.
an actor or someone famous, it's still a job.
Of course.
You got to
Yeah.
be able to show up and do your job.
Yeah. And,
There's a whole lot of fun stuff to do,
Yeah.
extracurricular activities, but
Yeah.
bottom line is at 9:00 at night when that stage lights go on,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you
It's
got to
where
be
you
able to
Exactly.
do your role, and if you can't, that's where.
Yeah, that's sort of the overall arching theme of this whole like documentary, right? Is if you can't show up and do your job, then it's time to call it quits.
Yeah.
Which is like that's sort of how like the documentary
That's a
is
good
told,
point.
right?
You
Right.
can't even touch that at all. Exactly.
Well,
it's all about
It's all about Bon Jovi and his voice and,
the
can
issues. Yeah.
the issues having with his voice, right? And interweaved in that is a kind of a history of the band.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
think sort of, I just lost my point. Dang it.
But they did do a really good job in that, where they,
Yeah.
because a lot of obviously it's current present day.
Oh,
Yeah.
John Bon Jovi.
Well,
like
it's
you said,
told from
dealing,
present day.
dealing with, he's dealing with a massive issue where he can't sing.
Well, we'll
Yeah.
get to that part,
and,
but
it's like you said, they do a really good job of kind of interweaving that
With history of the
with
band.
the
Yeah.
history. And they have
Yeah.
a ton of like raw footage, old footage,
Yeah.
unreleased stuff. They did a really good job on this.
And I mean, it obviously, like, the very beginning of the documentary starts where so we'll talk about his whole voice thing, but it's when he's like, not singing right then because his voice, or he's recovering from his voice, and he's just literally like, I have nothing to do, so I'm archiving. Like, he had people that were archiving for him. He's like, I got nothing to do, so let me do
It's
it.
like I got 30 years worth
Yeah.
of cassette tapes, really, and VHS tapes in my basement.
So it was cool. He was finding random things and like unreleased stuff and all this stuff. But I think what I really just wanted to say quickly was the sort of and I mean, I think John would admit it too. I mean, he did in the documentary. I mean, I think you have to have a level of this to be the success that he was or is. But, there's definitely air of arrogance to him. But he admits it fully, and you need it.
Well, you have to
have it. But I think that there's a difference between being arrogant and confident in what you're doing and leading, because he felt the pressure. He's like, I told these guys, let me tell you where we're going, and I promise you we'll get there. And it seemed generally speaking, they all were like, okay.
Well, I mean, the proof is in the pudding, right?
Yeah.
Look at what he did on his own. He got Runaway on the radio and a hit song on his own without a band.
Yeah.
But I feel like
And
that's
stuffs, and so it's like, and then
he did it again with the Young Guns soundtrack.
on his own.
He's like,
but
I'll just go do it on my own.
yeah, but
Yeah.
I'm saying, but he proved, the proof is in the pudding when he, was slippery when wet and all this stuff. Like, he knew what he was doing.
Well, so for the movie, like, they were like, hey, let's we want to use Blaze of Glory for a movie soundtrack, and he's like, no, let me just write you a separate one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And he
let me
wrote a
write
separate
something.
song.
Yeah, it was a great song too. The Young Guns soundtrack. He did the whole thing. Yeah.
Yeah. But and I think, I guess, just really quickly to sum up my chatter that I had.
And I think you mixed up your songs. They wanted to use Dead or Alive.
No, it was Blaze of Glory, wasn't it?
Blaze of Glory is the song he wrote for Young Guns.
Oh,
They
okay.
wanted to use Dead or Alive.
Yeah.
Same thing. Okay.
And he was like, how about instead of using Dead or Alive,
I'll write you
I
a
can
song."
write you
Yeah.
a better song that fits the actual
Yeah.
story of the movie.
Dead or Alive, they're all wearing their dusters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
But-
and it's like, the Steel Horse I Ride.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's like cowboyish theme.
but not specific.
No,
Yeah.
he was like, I'll write you an actual
But-
song for this movie.
Yeah.
I think that's why the band had so many years of staying together, mostly staying together, the original guys, because they all, like I said before, were in their lanes. They knew their jobs, they knew their roles, and they kind of just accepted it. They're like, this is cool. Let's just ride.
Yeah, and they did solo projects, and that didn't get in the way of the band still moving on as well, right?
No, nobody
Moving
really
forward.
tried to.
Like Bon Jovi did a solo album, and then Richie Sambora did
did.
his own solo album, and maybe Richie. I don't know. My opinion, it didn't sound too great when Richie was singing it on the City
No.
Hall. Maybe that was a reason why they were like, all went back to the band again.
But I think a lot
the
of
main band.
Well,
I feel like a lot of groups that go branch off and do solo projects, I feel, even Richie said it, it's like, it's an opportunity for me to just do what I want to do without answering to anybody. So whether
yeah.
it's successful
Yeah.
or not, it's just more of like a creative outlet,
Well,
I feel like.
That's
Usually-
exactly what it is. It's
Yeah, that takes two paths sometimes, right? Like
Yes. Yes.
if people in a band do a solo project, sometimes that's the end of the band.
Of course. Yeah.
I think what you hit the nail on the head. It depends on how successful
Yeah.
that solo project is.
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
If Richie Sambora goes #1 on his solo, is he coming back to Bon Jovi? I don't
Yeah.
know.
no. That's
Yeah.
might be a whole different. Yeah, exactly. But the fact that it sold, I don't know how many, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it
No, I
clearly
don't know,
wasn't as.
no.
I'm not a music
exactly.
critic, but
Yeah.
I saw his performance on a City Hall. I'm like, maybe
Yeah.
better in Bon Jovi.
No, and I mean, but it was just more, I think, like, even and he could be saying this because it wasn't successful, but he's like, it was just more just of a passion project.
well, and that's what most of
Yeah.
these. I want to write songs that don't fit with what we
Yeah.
do in Bon Jovi or whatever. So I just
Yeah.
want to put it out, and a lot of bands do that.
Yeah.
But it's
Well, I mean, John was the biggest one. I mean, he did movie soundtracks. I mean, it sounded like he really liked doing the writing songs for movie soundtracks. And he became an actor.
Well, I was going to say big thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, he became an actor. Yeah, and we never even mentioned too David Bryan. He won the Tony Award for working
a
in
musical.
musicals and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, but again, they seem to all be able to kind of come
Go
back
out, do your thing,
together.
and come
Yeah.
back. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think like most people, you start to realize which is the one that really pays the bills.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but I mean, also that too. But I like to think it's also part of a thing like, hey, like we just have fun together.
Well, no, obviously, yeah, you're doing it because you
Yeah.
enjoy it, but
Yeah. I mean, obviously
like,
it pays the
you're
bill.
not,
Yeah.
the offsuit project you're doing are fun and they're fulfilling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
But I think when
You
they
need to pay
also,
that. You know, you need to
Yeah.
get $100 million in the bank account.
but I think they
Let's get that Bon
also,
Jovi going.
like
Yeah.
most of them did their side projects once Bon Jovi was very successful and they were making good money, right?
Yeah.
So it was
No,
like,
exactly.
We just crept into the second era of Bon Jovi, which is
the
in the 90s, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Where Bon Jovi, he did like the unthinkable and chopped off his hair. I know.
Thank you for
amazing,
doing
yeah.
that. It looked beautiful. It did, when it was kind of a little shaggy long. Like, I mean, he did have an era where he like really cut it, but then the 90s, like the Always, the what other songs were there?
The John Stamos kind of Uncle
Yes.
Jesse hair that
That-
like
exactly.
you
That
know,
was
I don't know what
definitely
you
it.
call it, but like
Like the late, when he was in his late 30s.
Kind of a shaggy mop. I don't
Yeah.
know.
It was nice. It was nice. It was nice.
Yeah.
But, and it was no more like skin tight leather pants and
No.
holes shirts. It
Well,
was like the jeans and the, you know.
well,
it's
even
nice.
with the style change, the music style changed a lot too.
And,
Yeah.
well, he said he had to. Like, we're in our late 30s.
Well, that's the thing. It was, you know,
He was
but there's-
married. I think he had a kid.
Yeah, they all
Yeah.
they're having kids, and
Yeah.
you know, you just
So
your
things
frame of
change.
reference is totally different. What
Well,
you wanted to write about at 18 versus.
But
at
also
Yeah.
in the
30,
90s, there wasn't really like the market wasn't so much for like, you know, hot girls and car songs.
Well,
No, that's
Arena
what-
Rock was dead.
yeah. Yeah.
Like grunge killed that, right?
yeah,
yeah.
well,
Yeah.
they even they touch on that just briefly, but Bon Jovi was one of those bands that
They
managed
survived
to.
because I think they changed.
Yeah.
But
their-
that's the thing. Like they totally changed. Like they
They went more like ballad based, like Bed of Roses.
they
and,
went
Yeah.
more pop.
Always. Oh, pop. Yeah.
Okay.
yeah, a little poppy.
Side note, watching this because they said no, like that Always era was more pop. Like their songs were not didn't really have the like, you know. I mean, there was some rock in there, but it was like poppy. But I learned what pop music stood for. I
yeah.
didn't
Kelly
know.
had a revelation as we watched the
Pop music,
documentary.
popular music.
Yeah, I thought pop music meant like pop, like it pops. No, it just means popular. I was sad.
Well, it could be. It's one of the same, really.
Isn't it more fun to think of like pop music, like bam? Anyway, continue on.
Well, it popped like your bubble burst.
Yeah.
Yes, I was sad. It's disappointing.
It's all the
geez.
same thing. Pop, it's catchy. It's
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's fine.
It's you know,
But now, like, I mean, I had my first Bon Jovi CD was The Crossroads, which was their greatest hits. And that's how I learned about like The Dead or Alive, Living on a Prayer. But Always was my jam. I used to belt that ballad out.
yeah. Well, I think that's a key to their longevity too. Is that in the '90s they came out with a new style, a different look, a different sound.
Yep.
Yeah.
They brought in new listeners, but then those listeners went back and listened
Yeah.
to some of their older stuff. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, like you know,
Wow. Yeah.
these guys already have like
Big catalog of
5
music
albums
here.
and 10 years of music behind them or whatever.
Those
and-
greatest hits. I mean, like I said, nothing can get you out on a dance floor faster than like Dead or Alive or Living on a Prayer.
Oh,
Living on a
those,
Prayer,
those
oh,
are one
yeah.
of those songs.
Yeah.
Living on a Prayer, like that's still. It's,
Just like it's an anthem, like Eric
oh
said.
yeah, no, it's a massive
Oh, yeah.
song. Like you hear it right away, and it's like.
Yeah.
That open up with the wow 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 wow
Yeah.
wow, wow, with
Yeah.
the talk box and stuff with it. Yeah, like it's as soon as you hear it, you're like, oh man, this is
Well, even
Yeah.
I think John said or Richie, one of the two, they were just like, there was really nothing to that song. It was just like or maybe that was a different song.
Well, no, they're talking about when they were writing it. John didn't like it because it was like when I heard it when it was just us
It was like
singing
bam.
with the playing a piano. It
was like one
very,
chord.
It was like very basic. And
Yeah.
he's like, I don't. And Richie Sambora was like, I'm telling you, man,
This is a hit.
This is
this-
the best thing on the album.
yeah. And
Yeah.
it was like, I don't think so. And
Yeah.
it was like once they actually recorded it and stuff, I was like, oh, okay, now
Yeah.
it's,
Yeah.
you know, but when they were writing it, it was just them with the two of them with Desmond Child and a piano.
Yeah.
Doesn't
Yeah.
quite have the same punch to it as when
Yeah.
you throw
The
the
impression,
guitars and everything
the
into
impression I got was 90s Bon Jovi was more adult contemporary almost.
Yes.
it. Exactly. That's
Yes.
really what it was. Yeah.
Yeah.
They lost that hard. I didn't want to say
The,
you know, that
the rock.
sort of hard
Yeah.
rock edge was
Yeah.
gone.
Yeah.
Really
More
cool.
rock.
Really quickly,
Pop
though,
rock.
since we talked about the poor Alex Such guy leaving and going to rehab, we never really talked about who replaced him. I just want to mention that.
Yes, it was Hugh McDonald. I
Hugh
think his name
McDonald.
was.
And he was there from then to the, like now.
Well, the
He's still there.
interesting part about that was like, ooh, that kind of would sting. Is like they basically said that Hugh McDonald played bass on all of their albums. Alex John Such was there because he started in the band, but couldn't really didn't have the chops for it. So they're
Yeah.
like basically he stayed on stage because he was there
the
from the
guy,
beginning.
yeah.
But the actual albums and everything was actually Hugh McDonald that was
Ooh.
there playing the bass the entire time.
All his
I
parts.
missed that.
Which I thought,
Yeah.
if I'm Alex John Such, I'd be like,
It all comes back. Yeah.
oof, that's
Because it all comes back to Living on a Prayer. They said Hugh McDonald actually played the famous bass riff on Living on a
Oh.
Prayer.
Well, they say he played everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like Alex John Such was just on stage playing whatever Hugh McDonald wrote.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
All
like-
right, all right.
so
Well,
it's like,
I
but
mean,
for as a bass player for Alex John Such, like
Yeah.
it's a
Yeah.
I mean, he probably didn't care.
I'm
He was
assuming
living the life.
I hope he would know that. I assume.
I
He probably
assumed.
did, but he's probably like, he had drug and alcohol
Well,
problems.
that's it. He might have been like, I don't care.
I don't
played
care.
On stage
I'm making big money here. I'm on
Yeah.
stages. Yeah.
But I was like, oh, as an artist or as a guitar player, I'm like, oh, like if you didn't know that,
Yeah.
like, that's it.
Well, again, I'm sure. Yeah. I mean, and I think that if he didn't know it, it would have came out in this documentary where he was like, because he was interviewed too. So I mean, I'm pretty sure he probably knew. It was kind of just like, hey, you can enjoy the reaps of the rewards, but we're using another guy.
yeah,
Like,
Yeah.
I mean, whatever. Some people are just like, cool.
Yeah. It's
guess
funny hearing the
we're-
bands like as the 90s went on, they kind of had a second like break almost.
Yes, they
Yeah.
did. They
Yeah.
did.
Was it 4 years again? I think around that
it was
time.
a couple years. Yeah,
They
and then
took
came
more
back with
breaks between albums.
Yeah,
then.
yeah, exactly. Because when they came out in 2000 with that "It's My Life" song,
Yes.
Yeah,
everyone was like,
the
"Oh,
big
Bon
one.
Jovi's back!" Like it's almost like a
A resurgence.
Yeah.
resurgence, or
Yeah.
revitalization. And they're like, "We've never left. What are you talking about?"
Well, no,
No,
and that's
yeah.
one of the things you can say about Bon Jovi, the band. Like, I mean, the longevity they had. Like, every time they would come out, it would be like a resurgence of them. Like, they never really pittered.
No,
No.
and that's the thing. Like you look at each decade, they had like "Slippin' When Wet." Then like in the '90s, they had like the Crossroads album. And I can't remember the other one around there, but
I always forget the names. Yeah.
they had those albums. Then in the 2000s, they had the "Have a Nice Day," "That's My Life."
Yeah.
So it's like every decade they had like some big albums. Like,
Like-
it wasn't just like they were still around and they put an
Yeah.
album. It's like these
No.
were big albums
were-
that
and-
sold a ton of copies. Like,
And not Have a Nice Day. What's the first
It's
one?
My Life?
It's My Life.
yeah.
Like, that was sort of the anthem of the late 90s, early 2000s that Living on a Prayer was in the 80s.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, yeah.
everybody was like rocking out to that song. I mean, because that had the whole little wow, wow.
yeah,
right?
exactly.
Yeah.
Do 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 do.
Like,
Little piano
Wow,
riff.
Wow,
wow.
wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it was like super huge. And it's a great song.
No,
I mean,
so
I
I'm
love
saying like
it.
the '90s they had like "Always" was everywhere and those kind
Yeah.
of songs. But then the 2000s they came back, which a little more rocky again.
Yeah.
It was almost a return to living on a prayer, like that same
That
formula,
same-
right?
yeah, that
like
same
"It's My
kinda-
Life." It's sort of like it's a story again.
Yeah. Yeah.
A little more rock and roll too than like
Yeah.
some of their other stuff. Yeah.
So, I mean, then we kind of get into like the early 2000s and then the big, no, was that late? What do we remember when Richie Sambora left? It was in the
2013.
It was 2013.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was earlier than that.
No.
No, he was around for all like "It's My
Yeah.
Life." Like he was there for all that stuff.
So
Yeah.
really quickly, we'll touch because that's a huge, obviously, thing that
Yeah. Oh,
Richie
yeah.
Sambora left. So according to him in the documentary, he's like, "Hey, look, he was married to Heather Locklear. He had a daughter. Heather Locklear was dealing with her own issues. According to him in the documentary, he said my wife had issues. He was away from his kid. His daughter missed him. I mean, it's tough, right? So he was like, I'm just gonna chill for a minute. He left the tour, didn't he? It was a tour they were on.
He just
left.
He just didn't show up.
He
yeah.
didn't show up. But his story is the reason why he left, which he should have showed up, but he left was because he needed to go back home and deal with his family issues. His daughter, his wife,
yeah.
whatever. That just, so yeah, these guys were like, where is he? What's going
that's
on?
the thing.
That was the drama.
I don't think any of them had any. If he had
No.
said, "Hey, I know I got family, whatever,"
Right.
I gotta stay home and deal with this.
it was
Right.
he just
He ghosted them.
basically ghosted them. And they're
Yeah.
like,
Right.
what the hell's going on? So
Which wasn't cool.
No.
no.
But-
So,
so-
it's like it could have been the
Yeah. So like really like, overview levels, he left. He never really said, once they figured out where he left and where he went, he never really said that he was never coming back, but he never really said when he was coming back. People would interview him. There was an interview where they're like, hey, they're going on tour in July. Are you going to be, or they're doing a big show in July. Are you going to be there? And he's like, yeah, I don't know.
Well, he's like, I don't think I'm ready for it because he was at a rehab then at
Yeah.
that
Well,
point, I think too.
And that's
stuff.
another thing is too, not only did he go take care of his family, but he went to
He
rehab.
said he went to rehab for alcohol and exhaustion or something.
Alcohol and
like that. Like,
exhaustion.
Yeah.
So yes, the ghosting part was dramatic, but again, like it was just sort of, he just never really came back.
No, he
No.
just kind of faded into the.
And so what John was like, well, we have this huge festival show they were doing. I can't remember which one it
Yeah.
was. It was that big
concert.
they were doing. And they needed to replace him on stage, which he thought was going to be like, temporary to replace for the show.
Yeah. They thought, yeah.
So they called in
Phil
Phil
X.
X, good
Phil X.
Canadian boy.
Yes.
Canadian. And he went on, and they showed it. He went on stage. They did that show. Like, his kind of perception is like the very end of the set, John was like, oh, and thank you to Phil X. He's like,
Yeah.
nothing was mentioned before. It was just, I was there and Richie wasn't.
And there's
Yeah.
people in the crowd being like,
Where's
yelling like, "Who are you?" And
Richie?
so,
Yeah.
yeah. So I mean, it was, and even
Yeah.
after that, it was still kind of like a.
He would feel, because they didn't know. Like,
Yeah.
they didn't
Yeah.
know when he was coming back, because So, yeah, and then he ended up, obviously, Richie never came back.
Yeah,
and he stayed.
He got the call from Bon Jovi. John Bon Jovi called him, was like, hey, you still got those chord books with all the chords in them?
Yep.
Let's go.
We want to come back and...
And I think that was at the time when John was like, okay, clearly he's not coming back. And it sucked. It was a big hit because, you know, like they had a very good relation. Like, again, the whole chemistry.
They had a chemistry, they had a sound that was, yeah. I mean, Richie Zambora was a major player in that band. He wasn't just a guitar player. Like, you know, he would sing. He was the songwriter.
And they had to get like multiple pieces to replace him.
Yeah. The thing when in the show is like they had, you know, they brought in a couple other session guys and like singers and stuff.
Another singer because they also had the harmonization between him and John.
Yeah, so like it was like three other people almost. They had to bring in to basically fill in for Richie Zambora, which is crazy.
Yeah,
it just shows you how integral he was to that band.
Yeah, I mean, and it was a huge hit for the fans. I mean, a lot of fans were, you know, Richie Zambora stans. They loved him. They, you know, whatever. And again, the chemistry. So it was a big hit for the fans too. I mean, I think it was just kind of.
He had been there from day one. He was such a presence, you know, like he wasn't just in the background. Like he was. Yeah. You know. So him leaving was massive. Every fan noticed it.
And they just only reunited when they got inducted to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. It was the first time because all past
it was the
and
first
present,
time they saw Richie since he didn't show up for the tour.
And Alex was there too.
John Such was there too. Yeah,
that's right.
They all said they're like it's the first time we've all been back together, and the new guys. So it was like there was like I think 7 or 8 of them total by the time. Yeah. But they all went, they all talked, they all said, and it was just kind of like I don't know. It just seemed very wholesome, and they performed too. All of them.
Yeah, they all played. Yeah. It was really nice to see. And then it was kind of sad because a few months later, I think it was that then Alex John Such passed away.
Yeah. Yes, he did pass away.
So it's nice that they kind of had some closure there or whatever. Yeah.
And I think, you know, again, Alex, like, again, he just sort of was like, you know, him having to leave, it was just the right thing.
No, he had no ill will
towards it. Yeah, because he went to rehab and got clean and lived his life.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah, and I'm sure, you know, he was involved in those albums and stuff, so, you know, I'm sure he was making money and whatever. But yeah, no, there's definitely no ill will. It isn't between any of them, even with John and Richie now.
But that's what I mean. Like,
they're all kind of like, it is what it is.
Yeah.
So the next sort of era is sort of the point of view of where the documentary kind of like is told from.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So, like, the whole premise, obviously, is he's, like, I think, again, like, what is he, 60 now? They're all 60-ish?
62-ish, yeah.
Like, you know, he's kind of like, is this it? But one of the biggest reasons why is because I think it was, like, 2018-ish.
Yeah.
2018-ish, his voice was starting to be not so great. Very like raspy, very like whatever. He did have an issue with his vocal cords that did require surgery, but it was going to be like a year-long recovery.
And there's the possibility he may never sing again.
He may never sing again. So they were on like a tour. I don't know. I must have been promoting an album at that point in time. Admittedly, I kind of lost track of the Bon Jovi albums in the late 20.
I had no idea how. I was like, wow, they had like 6 or 7 albums. Like,
after that, Have a Nice Day. I'm like, oh,
it was like 4 or 5 albums after that. I was like, wow.
So they were on tour. His wife was his wife went to the shows, but I just remember this very poignant. They had video of it too, where he was on stage. His voice was not good. It was struggling.
Even his wife was like, not your best work.
Well, his wife said, like, because he was like, how was that? And she's like, not your best work. The other bandmates were kind of like, this sucks, but no, you're not really there anymore. He knew it.
They could all tell. Even it's hard. You're getting older. It's, you're fighting age.
He said, he's like, you know, I don't know if that's my last show ever. So at that point in time, they stopped because he's like, it was terrible. Mm-hmm. They stopped. He decided to get the surgery. He didn't officially retire or anything. He was like, I'm just going to get the surgery.
Yeah, he talked to his doctor, and he's like, with natural methods, you can be 100% of 80% of your former self. Is that good enough?
No.
And Bon Jovi was like, no, I don't want to be at 80%. It's my best.
No, if I'm at that, then I'm going to...
Yeah.
We kept going, and I get it. He's like, I don't want to tarnish the legacy of the band.
No.
Yeah.
And, you don't want to stay at the party longer than you're supposed to.
But
I don't leave.
But it's also one of those things are you really done, right?
But that, like anything, right? You love doing this to just, and not walking away because you want to is a whole different story versus having to because of something you really can't control.
So
that's hard.
He did the surgery. They stopped their tour. I think again, I can't remember exactly, but I think that show was the last show of that tour. Like, they didn't cancel their tour. I think it was the end of the tour.
They finished the tour.
Yeah.
They finished the tour. He got the surgery. And then sort of, again, like when he's talking throughout some of the documentary, it's when he's recovering. from the surgery. His
Yeah.
voice, like, because I remember at the beginning I was like, why does this voice sound so weird?
Yeah, yeah.
And he said, he's like, I sound way worse than I feel. This is a lot better than it was like a week ago. But like, it was significant. His voice was like,
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. You
Different.
can hear it was.
so he recovered at home. Like, it was also during the pandemic too. So it was kind of like,
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, it
COVID
kind of
had a
happened.
whole other effect on there. Yeah.
and interestingly enough, at some point in there, I guess prior to his surgery, they had recorded an album, and remember they released it, and it was during the pandemic, and he's like, we couldn't do anything with it.
Couldn't promote it. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
basically, he said we kind of just dropped it into a void of.
So it was, you
Yeah.
know,
It was called 2020, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I don't even remember that. Like,
No,
what's
that's
so-
the thing they said because they couldn't tour. They
Yeah.
couldn't promote it. It
No, they showed like
was not
a.
where to do anything with it. So
They
it just
showed
kind of.
exactly. They showed a clip of the band playing on Zoom.
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
They tried doing like what a lot of bands did,
Yeah.
where everyone's in their
Yeah.
house doing stuff online, which is cool, but
So-
not nearly the same as like
No.
going out on the road.
It almost worked out perfectly where the surgery, he had the time to recover. And then the documentary kind of ends where so I don't remember, did they specifically say how long it had been since they'd been all together? I'm assuming since that last tour before his surgery. But he called them all, they all showed up at, I guess, his recording studio at his house.
They had like a rehearsal, yeah.
Yeah.
And
They
it
had
was
a
the first time
rehearsal.
he had sung since.
And he was, because the last time they had all heard him, it was like they all were like, it wasn't good.
No,
Yeah.
so it was like, this is kind of, depending on how this rehearsal goes, this
I think-
This is
might
it.
be it.
And that's the thing. So the whole like feeling I had was like, again, he never said he was retiring, but he never said he wasn't. I think it was, we're going to see what my voice can
Well,
do.
that was
Yeah.
exactly what it was. Is like, I'm gonna get the surgery,
And-
I'm gonna recover properly, and I'm gonna go back in the studio or whatever with the guys
and see what happens. And
whatever comes out of my mouth
it,
is gonna decide what happens.
yeah,
there.
and it ended with them rocking out one of their new songs.
yeah, and
Yeah.
basically
sounded great.
He sounded fine and felt good and stuff.
Felt
and it was
good.
like,
So,
oh, thank God that I think we're good here.
Yeah.
well, I mean, so
Big
I
relief.
haven't heard anything about them going on tour, but let's not be surprised if they do or have some sort of album. Because I honestly think, again, when you're getting like your vocal cords, like, oh my gosh, it's such a intricate surgery in general.
Oh yeah.
Well,
Like, it can go so wrong.
Well, he made a comment. There's like whether it's like a muscle or something, and there's like it's like the size like a postage stamp almost.
Yeah.
That is what that little muscle is. What I think he
crazy.
said there's
Yeah.
120 employees in the Bon Jovi world. He's
Yeah.
like, that little piece of flesh
Yeah.
keeps 120 people employed, keeps
Yeah.
this Bon Jovi train going,
Yeah. All that pressure.
and there's nothing I can really do to fix it.
No.
So
It's
it
all
was,
guesswork.
yeah. So, I mean, it was a nice uplifting way to end the documentary,
Mm-hmm.
kind of on a cliffhanger, because obviously he's alluding to they're still rehearsing. They're alluding to something, right?
Yeah.
So that's cool. I mean, I'm excited because, they're in their 60s. And
Well, it's crazy that they've been going for 40 years. Like,
Yeah.
you kind
Yeah.
of, don't really think about it. I was like, oh my God, these guys, they've been around
It's a lot of wear
a
and tear.
long time.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, just singing every night, even if you're trying to hit high notes and all the stuff
Well,
on top of the exhaustion and everything
but
else,
one of the-
like it's
Yeah.
it's a grind.
Well, but one of the clips was one of the shows where he was, again, sort of more present day shows where he was
yeah.
older, and he came off the stage and they're like, oh, how was it? He's like, that was effing terrible. He's like, I couldn't, like, because he's very bouncy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Like he
He's-
said, he's like, I'm exhausted. He's like,
He's
I'm
like, I couldn't-
gassed.
I
like,
couldn't lift my feet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he just fell on the floor.
Lay on the floor in his dressing room. Oh, we lost the light.
Let's just keep rolling. It is what it is.
All
We're
right.
not that dark. We can see us.
Yeah,
We're almost done. It's
we
fine.
just had a light die. So anyone watching on
Look,
video, we apologize.
It's,
Yeah.
it's just what happens, okay? Technology, it's not our friend. Eric's so stressed right now. He's like, I gotta fix that light.
Well, that's my thing. I fixed the lights.
Well, sorry, it's okay. You can take it.
All right. I'll take a
We're
pause.
wrapping up here anyway.
I don't want to ruin the flow of it. I mean, we've had to stop this a few times for different reasons, so let's just keep the train going.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it was a very I thought the documentary was very well done. They told a really good story. I feel like everybody who was interviewed was honest. There was no
you could tell it was
Yeah.
like a genuine documentary. It wasn't like
one-sided.
heavily one-sided or trying to portray everyone as great and this and that. Like, and they
Yeah.
had everybody there. It was cool. It was it was really well done. I really enjoyed it.
And the fact that they're all still I mean, on their off days, I'm sure they don't hang out all the time, but they get back together for their job, do the job, and they do it well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I thought it was a really good documentary, and if you haven't seen it yet, by all means, definitely check it out. Like you said, it's Disney Plus, Hulu, Stars up here, whatever it was. But yeah, it's definitely worth a watch if you like Bon Jovi.
This is like not really on topic of the documentary per se. I'm sorry. I'm going to be really quick. I know Steve just gave me the look. He's like, this is already long enough. But
We lost the light.
no, wait, hold on really, really quickly because this is just amazing. Of course, us talking about it while watching it, we're like, oh, I wonder how much these guys are worth. I have to mention this. It's so mind-boggling. Maybe somebody in the comments can enlighten us. I had to look up everybody's net worth. Obviously, John's net worth is like, because 400 million.
It was in the 400 millions.
Everybody else in the band, the keyboardist, even all the people that have come in afterwards, they're all just over $100 million
Yeah,
worth.
yeah. They've done well.
Yeah. Then we Google Tico Torres, the drummer, 20 million.
Yeah, Tico, what happened,
How
buddy?
did that happen?
I don't know. There's something.
Like 20 million is impressive, but not compared to everybody else at 100
is
million.
a ton of money, but
It's still, yeah.
120 million that these guys had, it's a big difference. So obviously there's something going on in the background that we aren't aware of.
It did say
yeah.
he was married 3 times.
There we go. That could be the answer you're looking
could very
for.
well do it, yes.
But I just thought that was a really funny story because we were just like, what? Poor Tico. Tico needs to go back on
It
the
was
road.
funny. We're like, poor Tico, only 20 million.
Yeah, no kidding. It's
Well,
like,
in comparison.
Well, no, but
No,
yeah,
I know.
Yeah.
But yeah, we just thought it was funny. But anyway, like Steve said, what do you think, Eric? Did you enjoy the documentary?
I thought it was great. I think a lot of what Steve said, I agree with that. I thought it was really cool that everybody came back to talk in the documentary. Like, when Zambora was there, I was curious, would he show up to talk
Yeah, it was
and say
cool
his
to see him.
piece?
Yeah.
And yeah, it seemed like there was no real animosity between the band. And I thought it was a really well done documentary that kind of told the story of will Bon Jovi keep on going.
Yeah,
And I mean,
yeah.
that's just the question. And I mean, I feel like based on watching it, as long as he can and everybody wants to, I think they will.
It definitely seems
Yeah.
like as long as his voice holds up and they can deliver on stage, then
I mean, who
they'll
wants...
be at a theater or an arena near you.
I
There you
mean,
go.
I low-key want to go, but just saying.
Keep your eyes open for tickets the next time they're in town.
Right? But comment below. Let us know here's an interesting question. Let us know what your favorite Bon Jovi song is. I want to hear.
Yeah, let us know.
My favorite is, I mean, I have a lot of favorites, but one of them has to be Living on a Prayer. It's just
That's
a
good one.
great
Yeah,
tune.
yeah.
It's a great tune.
I like the Christmas song with Cindy Crawford in the video.
Ooh, I like that one
It's a good
too.
Christmas song, yeah.
And I like Always. I like Have a Nice Day. I like all
Dead or
those
Alive's
songs.
always been one for me. I always like that one.
Dead or Alive. I like Bad
Yeah.
Medicine, Blaze of Glory.
Lay Your Hands on Me.
Oh my God, there's
Born
too
to
many.
Be My Baby.
Yeah.
Some
Com-
good tunes.
Comment below, let us know what your favorite song is. But we thank you guys so much for watching, for listening. We really appreciate the support.
Absolutely. Thank
Definitely.
you,
Thank you.
And until next time, guys, that's it for today. Thank
Thank
you.
you
Good
and
night.
good night.
Thank you and good night.
Okay, we screwed that up.
We
Bye,
totally
guys.
blew that. Bye, everybody.
Bye.